One of the things I absolutely love about the NatureHike tents, at least for the Dune series, which are slightly more premium, that they have these wonderful compression strips, so that when you're actually getting the camp torn down, you don't have to worry about desperately trying to fold it just perfectly to get the tent back into the bag, which is, as you know, in the winter when it's cold, last thing you want to do is fumbling around trying to do things perfectly. So you can get everything in the bag without any worries whatsoever. Oh, I am so excited right now. I've been so looking forward to this tent. So clearly, obviously, as we unroll here, you can see that inside we've got our tent pegs. These are going to be standard, probably aluminum tent pegs. Let's have a look. Yep, same ones that come with the 7.6, so nothing special there. These are fine in the summer for kind of a perfect campsite. As we always recommend, invest in some of the larger stakes, and in the winter, some snow anchors to be able to fend for the conditions. And we have all that stuff. So lots of pegs in there. Feels like some extra guy lines. And of course, one thing I absolutely loved about the 7.6 was the quality of the poles that come with the tent. This is a self-standing tent, so once you get it up, you don't have to worry about having to use guy lines to actually have a usable tent space. Oh, look at these, beautiful. These are obviously bigger than the ones that we used before. Try and hold on to these if you can in your bag. Makes things a lot simpler when you're trying to pack the poles away. We're excited to get these set up. The one difference I can see already between the Dune 7.6 and the 10.9 is that it's got 3 full poles, and it is a larger tent. Set that over there. So it totally makes sense for snow load. And I've seen a few videos. NatureHike puts out a Coda tent, which I am not impressed with. And that Coda tent is another 8-person. It's more of a family tent. They advertise it as a 4-season, but the vestibule is not self-supporting. It is required to have guy lines to hold it open. So I did buy one. I sent it back because I was just too worried about snow load, because where the chimney goes through for the actual hot stove is right in that vestibule, and there was no supporting poles. So when I saw the design of this one, even though it's larger than the other tent, I was super impressed with the fact that it had this full-size pole to go in the center to deal with snow load. All right, so what we have here is the inner. Get the straps out. Wow. This is another great thing about the NatureHike product, is that it is a true all-season tent. And I can tell you from the 7.6, which I've used all year, first in the winter when I got it as a hot tent, then in the summertime, this inner goes inside, and on the smaller tent, it's built for 2 people, but it has a ground floor, mosquito nets, all that stuff. And there's so much ventilation on this tent that it's a perfect tent for the summertime as well. So really glad that even on this bigger one that they have the larger version. And one of the reasons they call this the 3P is because if you're using the inner section will allow you to comfortably sleep 3 grown adults. The configuration we're going to do today, you could, without a hot stove, comfortably sleep a lot more. So I'm excited to see how it actually pans out. So that's kind of it for the content. Here we have the main unit, the star of the show. Really excited to get this on the ground and set up. So without further ado, let's get her done.
This tent's rated for 4 people if you have the actual inner tent installed. The exterior shell itself of the tent measures about 165.35, 102.36, and 78 by 74 inches. So this thing is not light. The total system weight is approximately 26 pounds, or around 11.8 kilograms. Getting into materials and fabrication, the fly or outer shell is a 75D 290T polyester. The inner tent itself is constructed from a 240T polyester pongee or similar, and the floor uses 150D Oxford fabric. It's all seam tape for waterproofing, really nice job. The pole structure uses a 7001 aluminum alloy poles for strength and durability. The floor is rated around 4,000 millimeters in some spec lists, not really 100% sure on that. So, in short, if you're looking for a tent that delivers comfort and all weather reliability for 2 to 4 campers in the summer, and in the winter, including your gear and your hot tent, you really cannot beat this tent. Again, my experience with the 7.6 has been nothing but astounding. Absolutely love that tent, and looking forward to trying this larger unit out this winter. And that's really been my only complaint, is that if I want to have extra people in, other than me and my dog and 2 cots, the 7.6 is a little bit tight. It can be done, but not the most comfortable.
Okay, this is one thing, gang. You've not seen me the full length of this thing, but we have 3 of these, and I assume the center one's going to be a little different in size. So they are pre-bent, and I'll show you what I mean by that. One of the reasons these tents are so great. See that bend right there? You don't have to rely on pressure to bend it like the fiberglass ones or even some of the cheaper aluminum ones. And it's critical because the walls are not quite straight up and down, but for all intents and purposes they are, which is great for snow load and strength. So there we go. So clearly this is the center pole, and they've distinguished it by having slightly different color in the middle. I don't know if you can see the gray versus the black. So that's good to know, and it's obviously a much smaller as well. The only problem with these in the wintertime is sometimes the knuckles and the elbows will freeze up if you get ice in them or snow or anything else. So one of the things I recommend is in really extreme conditions, if that's happening, I always keep some of those hot paws around, because your hands do get cold on the metal, and with those hot paws, just kind of get them on the joint that's giving you trouble, let it thaw out, and then take it apart. So, all right, so that's 2 poles. And I got to say, if you're like me and you're upgrading the 7.6, or I shouldn't say upgrading, but you're getting a bigger tent, same kind of version, that setup for this should be fairly familiar to me now, with the exception of the center pole. One of the key things with winter camping, especially when you're doing it solo, no matter if your tent's small or large, you want to make sure that it's easy enough to get up by yourself. And for those that watch our channel, and if you're just starting to watch our channel, you'll see that probably 80% of the time it's just me and Luna. My wife's not a fan of winter camping. Great in the summer, and of course I have friends that are on work schedules. So most times, if you enjoy this sport, as I'll call it, winter camping, you're going to do a lot of it solo. So make sure your tent can go up 100% on your own. So let's get these poles in. All right, we got our center pole here, which is delineated by gray. And making a guess here, but we're going to start it right about here. This looks like a center pole. Nope, I'm wrong. Here we go, gang. Always double think what you think you know. Because right over here, I can see that this particular guide for the pole has a gray marking on it, which of course the other 2 don't. And this has a gray section in the pole. So clearly, when it's looked at, it is the one that goes there. All right, that laid out. I think that's about good for now. Now for our big ones. Ooh, these are long. Wow. I mean, they're long on the 7.6, but these are next level. I'm not going to bother measuring them out, but God, they've got to be, I don't know, 25 feet long. Again, lining up with the black. Very simple. And I should tell you, as we're going through this tonight, we are going to make another video testing everything out. So if you like this video for the setup, be sure to check back on the channel and watch us actually use it at night, because we have a trip coming up to Silent Lake Provincial Park. This will be the first time with this tent in the wild, and I want to make sure we're ready and everything is tested and we know what we're in for. So it'll be kind of fun to do a little backyard camping tonight. So far so easy. I'll get the last one to put in. Other thing I really like about the NatureHike products, at least for this series, is that the guide material for the pole seems to be quite strong. Like I said, I've used my other one for over a year now, and I've not had any trouble with rips or tears in that material. And that's really important, because the last thing you want when you're cold and by yourself and your hands are getting cold is for the pole to come up through the material and having to figure out what you're going to do. So there we go. That's it. That's all the poles. Like I said, make sure all three are in place. And now we're going to try and manipulate this and get it up. And I'll show you something here as we get this first one in. Another thing I really love about the NatureHike product, that a lot of tent companies will have clips that are plastic to put the base in, but NatureHike does these metal holders where the tip goes in. So once we have that in, I'll show you. Now you can see that it's metal on metal, and you got room for your tent spike to go through there. So very nice. Now let's go on the other side and get the first one in. I think we'll save the center one for last. If you're like me, I'm not as good at reading instructions as you should be. But again, I'm fairly familiar with this tent, so it shouldn't be that complicated. All right, there we go. One other tip for everybody that's watching. Just make sure that when you're putting these up, that you have all of the doors closed. Because you'll see when we do the footprint, get that out a little more. When we do the footprint, that's how you ensure the doors will open and close perfectly every time. Now, in theory, once we get this other one set up, we should pretty much have a tent that'll pop right up without any help from anybody else. And again, that is one of the cool things. It's a great design feature for this tent. Well, at least for the smaller one. We're going to find out how that works with this one. But again, at least for the smaller one, that it is a one-man pop-up. Oh yeah, same as the small one. Look at this, people. Okay? One person, be able to get this massive tent into what looks like a tent structure. Wow. You can't see me now, but this thing is big. Holy. Look at how tall this is, people. And although I did put it in on the other side, it still came out. But again, at least it's in, and you'll see why. Because clearly, to get this thing in afterwards through that bend is almost nearly impossible. So the smaller version of this tent, the 7.6, actually just has a small, it's just a little crossbeam. Quite effective, but again, because this one is so much larger and is going to have obviously more surface area for snow load, then that has to be bigger. So there we go. Nice and easy. One person setup. Oh, look at that. Can't help myself. I got to switch back and forth and look at the 7.6 and now look at this. And this is a very large tent. I cannot wait to show you the inside. Alrighty, we have these clips all the way around. Let's get all these done up. And this one, because it is a bigger tent, actually has 4 per side instead of the regular 3 on the other tent. And I love the simplicity of the pole structure. And to be able to get these all on. Oh, that's kind of neat. The guy lines are actually a little upgraded because of the size as well, where it's got a double tie-out point. I don't know if you can see that. And very cool. So they actually get stability from here and here instead of just one point like on the other tent. I think for now we're just going to use the standard pegs. We're in the backyard. And it's not frozen yet. I do like these aluminum stakes they do give you, at least for the summertime. These are actually really good quality stakes. I bought some online. They all tend to bend if you put too much pressure on them, so they're not good for different kinds of weather, but at least for today's purpose, oh boy. I generally do all the corners first. As you'll see when we do an interior of the tent, this actually has straps to make sure you can't really stretch it out too much. And again, if the doors are closed, you don't generally have too much of a problem. That's one thing with all tents. If the doors are open and you stretch it out too much, guess what? Those zippers aren't going to work. And obviously, I'm taking my time here, folks. Slow and steady wins the race. But again, so simple to be able to get all this together. I'm not going to bother with guy lines. It's not going to be windy. If it does get windy, I'll pull them out. But I do love, like I said, this design. All right. Well, gang, that's it. We have two dunes. 7.6, which is on your left, my right, and the Dune 10.9. And I'll show you the outside of both of them before we actually go into the tents to show you the difference. But golly, for a tent that size, I think there's 172 square feet. I will put the specs and the stats within, but absolutely just so massive and so tall. All right, one of the things I'll show you is that I did get the TPU front window for the Dune 7.6. Just give you a quick run around. As I told you, the top snow load pole is actually just a beam, right? It's not a full pole. And for this size of tent, it's enough. I've had this thing buried in snow and never had a problem. As we come around to the back, you can kind of see that there's another door there. 7.6 actually has 4 doors, and so does the 10.9. So we're going to get those open just to show you how spacious those are, and we'll go inside and have a look. All right, I said we were going to go inside and have a look, but before we do that, I do want to show you. Remember at the beginning I was talking about these poles and how it practically makes the tent, pretty much vertical. I mean, there is no snow load that is going to catch on any of this section of the tent whatsoever. So there's a small peak at the top, a small peak, on all sides where the snow will collect a bit. And we had the same on the 7.6, but so little. And when you think of a lot of different styles of tents, they will accumulate a lot more snow. We have a large bell tent as well, which we don't really use for camping unless it's really far up north for a longer period, canvas, and it collects a lot of snow just by the sheer design of it. And we do keep this up all winter and all summer. She's seen some love over the last few years. That's a 21-foot white duck, which is another company I can highly recommend. But come on, look at this. At this angle, you can really see the difference in the size of these tents. This one is much wider, so I think it's an extra 3 feet, both for the width and maybe even another, it's got to be more, another 4 feet. It's called a 10.9, but when I was looking at the measurements, which will be in the description, I think it's actually a lot longer than 10 feet. Height as well. Height of the larger tent is well over 6 feet, whereas for the 7.6 you get, just about 6 feet in the center, so you're still crouching a little bit. I have a feeling that within this tent there's going to be very little crouching. So anyways, now we have that part out of the way. Let's get these doors open all the way around. And this is so heavy. I'm going to show you something a little later with this, which you wouldn't use in the winter, but I would use in the summer, is a canopy that folds out twice. But for now, we're just going to fold this in a little tip. Let's get that corner kind of fold it over and then start rolling. Get the other side going a little bit too, just so you don't have any extra sticking and hanging out on the other side. Wow, nice big front door. The door itself is probably the same height as the 7.6 on the front. So wider, obviously, but I mean height, that you're not going to walk in standing up. The zippers feel really good. Always have, even after a year. Again, just fold that corner in. Make sure you have less material. Once the screen is done up, it is done up for the season because it's not going to get used. No mosquitoes in the winter. Well, let's get inside and have a look. Always so exciting. For those that don't winter camp, you'll see that the ground is exposed. Here's those straps I was telling you about, just to make sure you can't stretch the tent out too much in any direction. There's the center strap, and can't see the one at the back, but holy cow. Okay, gang, so I'm not the tallest guy in the world. I'm just about 5 foot 10 inches, and I am at the back of the tent where typically we'll have our cots, and I'm standing and not touching the tent at all. And here in the middle of the tent, look how much space is here. Wow, pretty cool. It's really handy that for these vents, which are on the top, that you can actually unzip and then open that vent. There's a little ladder that goes up, 2 pieces of Velcro, and now that vent is open. There you go, a little bit of extra ventilation, which is always handy when you're burning a wood stove and you want to make sure that you have good ventilation. And I'm not going to say a pro tip, I'm going to say a common sense tip, is make sure that you have a CO detector no matter what you're burning in your tent. I have a heater buddy, as well as a wood stove. As you can see there, it's got the cutout for the chimney. And it's one thing I'm not a fan of with this company is that they pre-cut the hole. So I might have to cut that a little further. I'm not sure yet. I've got a 5-inch pipe. That does not look like 5 inches to me for the larger stove. But I do have an extra, and this is a pro tip. I ordered an extra chimney jack to be able to use for my smaller stove to make sure that snow and rain's not coming in the hole. So you see here, we can zip that up. There you go. And that's one of the things I really like to do is get all the doors open so I can work on my configuration. And I've never set up in this tent, so it's going to be curious to see how we actually, kind of do this, right? Beautiful. They line the tents with this silver material, which I know does help with waterproofing a little bit. Hopefully it's not too loud for everybody. I'm rustling away here with my new microphone. And just imagine this in the summertime, when you could use this, and maybe I will, just as a picnic table area, right? To protect you, overhead from the rain. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Seems like, yeah, oh yeah, totally get a full-size picnic table in here. No doubt about it. Oh, this is just absolute insaneness. Again, think of the versatility. If you're, let's say, on the campground in the summer, you can actually, put a space up like this, and you got room to have your picnic table and your friends and your chairs and everything else. And as you'll see when we put the awning out in a bit, even more space. So this really is, the most versatile tent, I believe, that is in the marketplace. I mean, I've seen some really good hot tent videos out there that are specifically for the winter. Some of them more of the geometric dome styles, which are pretty expensive. And guess what they're good for? Winter, right? A tent like this, if you're on a budget, you think, oh, do I really want to spend the money? Because they're still not, they're not cheap. It's not like buying a tent at Canadian Tire or Walmart. But for what you get for the, the multi-season versatility. So imagine, being on the beach and having a sun shelter, right? Because the silver lining is also UV protected. Just wow. So let's get that last door open. All right. You can't see me right now, but I promise you I'm still here. Back door is exactly the same as the front door, which is very convenient. I really like that they have lots of Velcro, as well as the zippers kind of holding everything together. Nothing feels better than fresh tent fabric. And although, as I've said in the features, that this is, I think, rated for 3,000 millimeters, which is a lot. But two things are going to happen to your tent. They're going to be completely disheartening if you're not ready for it. But if you are ready for it, which I'm going to get you ready for now, manageable. And one is you're going to get some pinprick holes from your hot stove. And it's because you're not always going to get perfect wood. You're not always going to have perfect conditions. And another pro tip, I always carry a container of Gorilla brand clear silicone. And I started using it for just temporary little pinprick hole fixes. And the stuff has held up so good after 1 year, I haven't had to do a permanent fix. So let's have a look around now that we got all the doors up. I mean, come on, people. This is practically a transformer. Look at this. Look at all this open space. So if you're sitting out front here with your chairs, which we're definitely going to get everything set up a little later. And right back here. What other tent can you actually run right through? Wow, still cannot believe the size of this monster of a tent. All right. Again, I see people leave these in the winter. And I was actually commenting in a forum about how I don't use mine in the winter. And he said, I'll never take mine out. And I didn't really understand what he meant by that. Why wouldn't you take it out? There's no bugs in the winter. But to each their own, I guess. But for me, certainly, just making sure that it works is good enough for me. You can see a little red tag here in the center. That means you're going to go to the top with that. And just like in the old one, I always start with the red one, just because it's easier to then sort out where the front and the back is. You can see it's on a nice stretchy bit of fabric. I'm going to show you all four. There's the snow skirt out of the way. And right there is a clip. And the bottom, I leave this to last on all four corners, because you'll see that we're going to be attaching it on these all the way up. So we'll get those done first, and we'll see you back. But we're attaching the front first, and we're going to go down each side and put these little clasps in each of these little holes. And I will show you that once we get to the other side. Now you do want to work your way backwards, because there are some center ones. And as I learned the hard way with my first tent, and if you don't do that one first, forget about it. So you can see that it starts to come back here. This is a much bigger inner, so it's got a lot more of these things right up top here. And I love the quality of this tent, that everything, anywhere there's something that's connected, is all double stitched. All double stitched, which is great. As I said, you're going to want to do all these before you do the bottoms. Just ingenious, though, to think that in the cost of the tent, I've seen other teepee style ones where you can get summer inners and they charge you for them. Extra, always extra. Look at this, eh? We're so close. I'm going to put this one on the bottom now. See the bottom come out here a bit. I showed you that clip earlier. That's two. They're also adjustable, so you can actually pull on the little things to tighten them up a little more. Engineering that goes into these things. Somebody very clever, came up with this idea. Voila! So look at that. All set for the summer, even though it's winter. All right, this transformer tent just keeps transforming. So look at that. Now we have that whole backside, which is good for 3 to 4 people. And then we have the inner here in the front, which can now be just used as a patio. And that tells me this tent has one more trick. I'm not sure if I'm going to show it today, but this awning comes out. The front cover stretches out as a double awning. Just really, really cool. So maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I'm trying to think if there's any complaints that I have. I'd say by that giant pause, no. You saw at the beginning just how easy it was for one person to set up. Again, making sure just to have all of the poles put through before you try and set it up. Start with one corner, move to the next. By the time you get to the other side, you will literally, have your tent set up. Once you've done it a couple times in 15 minutes. I mean, it's crazy for setup, and for a tent this large, that's unbelievable. And again, I've seen a lot more expensive kind of dome style ones where they are not one person setups. And that can be difficult, especially if you like to do solo trips like Luna and I do on our own. For the size, it has absolutely exceeded my expectations. I knew it was going to be larger, but I didn't really have any idea just how much more space there is. So stay tuned. We're going to do another video in which we actually have it loaded with all of our sleeping gear, the stove to test it out and everything else, to give our first impressions on it from a nighttime perspective. But can't say enough good things about NatureHike. The 7.6 has been our faithful companion for the last year, and we camp a lot. I think we probably put about, good grief, maybe 30, 35 days in that tent over the last season, probably more. I'll have to go back and do the math. And it's been a champ. So I have no doubt that the 10.9, or the 3P as it's also known, is going to do just as well. There are accessories for this as well for the summertime, and I'll probably get a couple of them. One is an additional mini fly that goes over the top, just for some extra rain protection. I've never had trouble with the other tent, but what could it hurt? The second piece is, which I have on the 7.6, is a TPU window. I'll likely end up getting one for this unit as well. It's just nice, especially in the wintertime when you're not worried as much about privacy, to be able to see, if there's a beautiful sunset that's happening outside, and not have to have the windows open and letting in cold air, right? So I will definitely, probably end up getting the TPU for this as well. And I cannot thank you enough for watching this first impression video. If you want to see the one that we did for the 7.6, you can actually go into our channel and check that out. It's our most popular video on the channel, so people obviously appreciate it. We try and do an honest impressions video. There's nothing else. We're not cooking. We're not setting up, anything. Just giving you the impressions of the tent all by itself. And hopefully you've enjoyed that. Hopefully this has given you some perspective. So make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want to see more things. For us small YouTubers that enjoy this, it really does give us inspiration, when we see that more people are enjoying our content and leaving comments, etc. So until next time, as I like to say, keep camping.